Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really interesting. It goes beyond just the bank balance. Who actually makes early retirement happen?
Yeah, we're looking past the numbers.
We are. We're digging into the motivations, the backgrounds, even the whole, way of thinking that lets some people step out of the workforce early.
And we've got some great material lined up. We're pulling from research on the psychology of it all, some really detailed profiles of early retirees, and a pretty comprehensive report looking at demographics and, well, how their lives are set up.
So our mission here, for you listening, is to paint that full picture. Uncover some things that might surprise you, things beyond just having stacks of cash.
Hopefully you'll see if any of this sort of clicks with your own aspirations or, where you are right now.
Okay, so where do we start? I think maybe the mindset. What's going on in their heads?
That seems like the place. And what keeps popping up is this FIRE mindset. Financial independence, retire early. And the core idea there is prioritizing that long-term security, putting it ahead of, say, spending money right now.
So this often means pretty extreme frugality, doesn't it?
It really does. We're talking saving massive chunks of income, 50, even 75% sometimes.
Wow. How?
Well, often through minimalist lifestyles, cutting back significantly, and then investing that money usually in things like low-cost index funds.
Which are, just for clarity, those broad market investments, low fees, meant for the long haul.
Exactly. Or sometimes real estate. The focus is just building up those assets.
So it's more than just saving, right? There's a psychological side, too.
Oh, absolutely. The research points to high levels of conscientiousness. These folks tend to stick to their plans meticulously.
Resisting temptation, basically.
Yeah, which is key. And they seem to have a strong capacity for delayed gratification. They're good at waiting for that future reward, even if it's years away.
And budgeting isn't just a vague idea for them.
No, very intentional, detailed tracking.
So they're real goal setters, not just hoping things work out.
Definitely not. We see evidence of people tracking savings rates, investment returns, even daily expenses, sometimes for decades. It's a long game.
It really is a marathon.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly, their approach to risk, it seems like they often have a higher tolerance for investment risk, understanding that bigger returns might mean more ups and downs.
There's not reckless gambling.
No, it's usually balanced. Diversified portfolios are key, trying to smooth out those bumps in the road.
Okay, and here's something I found fascinating. The resistance to societal pressure, keeping up appearances.
Right. That doesn't seem to be a big driver for this group. Instead, one source said something like 78%. They get way more value from experiences than from just buying stuff.
Experiences like travel, hobbies, time with family.
Yeah, things that enrich life, not just fill the house.
Which, makes you wonder, does that resonate with you listening? That desire for more autonomy, maybe less focus on material things.
It seems to be a really powerful current underneath the FIRE movement.
So, thinking about these traits, where do they come from? Does upbringing play a role? Our sources suggest it often does.
It really seems to. There's evidence that many were raised in homes where saving was, really emphasized.
Like that example of Michelle Bugajski. Her parents taught her to save a slice of all income right from the start.
Exactly. Those early lessons can build a strong foundation. But then there's the flip side, too.
You mean experiencing financial struggle?
Yeah. That can be a huge motivator. Like Tomadinova growing up seeing economic instability firsthand, that can create a really powerful drive for security later on.
So family history, maybe seeing parents or grandparents go through tough times, can act as a sort of cautionary tale.
Precisely. Fueling that desire to build something more stable. And sometimes you also see an entrepreneurial streak fostered early on, like Peter Bugajski starting a business at 16.
It really prompts some self-reflection, doesn't it? How did your upbringing shape your views on money and security? Something to chew on.
Definitely. Okay, but we can't talk early retirement without, the actual money part, the financial realities and the planning involved.
Absolutely essential. And there's that common benchmark you hear about, aiming for 25 to 30 times your annual spending and investments.
That's the target, yeah. And then living off that using something like the 4% rule.
Which is that guideline suggesting you can safely withdraw about 4% a year.
Right. And hitting that target, it takes serious saving, like median rates of 60, 70%, sometimes for 10, 15 years.
That sounds intense. Often needs two incomes, maybe? Or side hustles?
Often, yes. Dual incomes or extra gigs really help accelerate things.
And they need to know what they're doing with investments, presumably.
For sure. Investment literacy is key. They're not just letting cash sit there. They're using tax-advantaged accounts, your 401k, IRAs.
The ones designed to help you save for retirement with tax breaks.
Exactly. And often favoring those low-fee index funds again to really let compounding do its work over time.
But here's a twist. Financial stability, while obviously necessary, wasn't always the main motivator.
Yeah, that was interesting. Only about 21% cited it as the number one reason, which tells you there are other powerful things pushing people.
So, for you listening, how does your own financial planning stack up against these strategies? Anything spark an idea?
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the jobs, the careers that seem to lead here more often?
We definitely saw a pattern. Higher paying industries obviously give you more capacity to save aggressively.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the research even listed top professions and typical retirement ages like commercial managers, tax experts, construction managers, potentially retiring around 46.
Wow, that's early.
IT managers, project managers, maybe around 47. It shows it's possible in certain fields.
And like we touched on, entrepreneurship or side hustles can really speed things up too.
A good point. And don't forget jobs with built-in early retirement options like pensions, certain union trades maybe, like mechanics.
Right, some of those jobs have pathways to retire earlier than the standard age.
It does make you think about your own career. Is it helping you towards that goal or maybe creating some roadblocks?
Okay, so now let's dive into the factors beyond finance. This is where the human side really comes into play.
Yeah, this part is crucial. That desire for autonomy, for control over your own time, it comes up again and again.
Especially for people feeling disillusioned with corporate life, maybe.
Exactly, feeling stuck, maybe describing careers as toxic or stagnant. That push for freedom is strong.
And then there's the sheer toll of stressful jobs. Burnout.
Absolutely. High-pressure fields like healthcare, law. We see a correlation with retiring earlier. That stat about 46% of nurses retiring before 60 really stands out.
Mental well-being is a big piece, too. Anxiety, depression, feeling a lack of control at work, that can definitely push people towards an exit.
And sadly, family caregiving. That's a huge factor, particularly for women.
The numbers were stark there. Something like 34% of women retiring under 55 cited family needs versus only 12% of men.
That's a significant difference.
It is. And another thing, seeing serious illness or even death in the family, that can be a real wake-up call.
Puts things in perspective fast. About 15% mentioned that as a catalyst for rethinking their timeline.
Yeah, that reminder of life's unpredictability. But we also have to mention the less voluntary reasons.
Right. Things like ageism or structural barriers pushing people out.
Unfortunately, yes. A concerning number, 43%, I think, reported job loss or demotion as the trigger for their retirement. That's involuntary.
And health issues, sadly. That's a major one.
Huge. Nearly half attributed their early retirement to declining health or a medical crisis. It's not always a choice made from a position of strength.
But on a more positive note, for those who choose it voluntarily.
Ah, yes. The research suggests a real rebound in mental health for them. Less stress, more leisure time. It can be very beneficial.
But not so much for those pushed out involuntarily, which really highlights how important having that sense of control is.
Absolutely.
So for you listening, thinking beyond money, what other factors might influence your retirement timing down the road?
And finally, we should just briefly acknowledge the wider conversation here. Is early retirement actually accessible to everyone?
That's a really important point. Socioeconomic differences clearly create barriers for a lot of people. It's not an even playing field.
No, it isn't. And it brings up the need for, broader financial education, maybe better support systems to make these kinds of goals more attainable for more people.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive today, it's pretty clear early retirement isn't just about the size of your nest egg.
Not at all. It's this really complex mix of habits like frugality combined with strategic planning.
Plus the influence of your background, your career path.
And these really significant psychological drivers and external pressures we talked about.
We really hope exploring all this gave you some aha moments. Maybe you saw bits of yourself or people you know in these descriptions.
Or maybe just a new perspective on what it really takes to step away from the traditional path early.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering everything we've covered, the mindset, the upbringing, the career stuff, the personal reasons, beyond just the money, what part of this whole early retirement puzzle resonates most strongly with you right now?
And maybe. What's one small thing you could explore further in your own journey, whatever your current timeline looks like?